Hi everyone, a very good afternoon. You're watching the newsroom on ET Now. I'm Abina Kapasi. Let's just take a quick check at what the equity markets are up to as we speak. And we have 1/3% of gains coming in for the Nifty and the Sensex, with the Nifty still holding on beyond the 11,500 mark, and the Sensex is gaining 100 odd points. Today's leader of the day has got to be the auto packer, primarily being led by M&M, which is seeing a stealthy rally of almost 5%, followed by Tata Motors, which has any which ways been on a nice upward journey in the last couple of weeks. Bajaj Auto too clocking in smart gains of 3 odd percent. Hindalco and Brittania Industries as well are the big gainers. But yes, auto is what we are going to be talking about, and more particularly, like I flagged off, M&M, that will be in focus. Lots of news around this one, more particularly to do with the SsangYong investment. That I guess is something that's the cynosure of all eyes, and what exactly is the latest update over there. But it's something that is causing the volumes as well to surge significantly. They are at 4 times the last 20-day average. So massive momentum being witnessed over there. But yeah, what we need to understand is that M&M has acquired a 70% stake in SsangYong Motors. As per agencies now, M&M holds a 74.65% investment in SsangYong. So this is interesting, because M&M has stopped funding any losses of SsangYong, but funding through internal accruals by sale of certain assets is something that's taking place in the company. M&M will be a stock on our radar for now. Moving on, let's take a look at a result candidate. VA Tech Wabag has come out with its numbers. This as well has been a stock that has seen a massive rally recently. What exactly, or rather how exactly have the numbers shaped up? Well, revenues have dipped from the corresponding quarter, coming in at around 430 crores. Well, just a very tiny dip. The profit after tax, though, has surged 5 crores versus 0.6 crores in the corresponding quarter. And the EBITDA margin has come in at 6.7%, pardon me. So that's VA Tech Wabag for you. The other big news maker is NMDC. The Karnataka state cabinet has cleared mining activity at Donimalai, a very important mine that earlier belonged to NMDC for a period of almost 50 years before its lease expired in 2018, and post which there was a bit of a tiff between the state government and the company with respect to the amount of premium for the renewal of the Donimalai lease. And this is something that kept the mining activity at Donimalai on pause mode. NMDC as well lost out on the volume opportunity over there, but it looks like they are going to get the lease back, and mining operations will resume almost after 2 years of being on hold. NMDC was actually gaining almost 5%, a bit cooled off from that high point of the day. Okay, National Fertilizer, and this is another counter that has been gaining. We flagged it off to you a couple of weeks ago as well on account of the good production numbers, the good strong sale numbers for the April to August period, and now it's delivered again its first quarter numbers. The revenues have managed to grow by almost about 10%. In fact, more than that, the company has managed to expand its margins very significantly from just 2.5% in the corresponding quarter to 11.4% this year. And the profit after tax has come in at beyond 100 crores versus a loss of 64 crores in the corresponding quarter. So quite a turnaround. And SpiceJet, interesting to see what this company has delivered amidst this pandemic. Revenues have naturally slumped to just 521 crores. The EBITDA profit, though, has come in at 13.5 crores. But on the bottom line, the company has delivered a loss of 600 crores, albeit the loss has contracted or narrowed down from the previous quarter, which was at 816 crore rupees. So there you have it. That's, of course, all the big movers and shakers today in trade. Well, moving on, there is a new company that's going to be listing, and that's CAMS. Let's bring on board Anuj Kumar, the CEO of the company, that's all set to launch its IPO on the 21st of September. Mr. Kumar, many thanks for joining in. For those of our viewers who are new to the company, tell us a bit about it and who've been the prominent investors over the last couple of years.
No, sure. So the company is over a 30-year-old entity. We've largely earned our spurs in the market as a mutual fund RTA. We've been in this business since 1995, so over 2.5 decades. Within that, you would have seen that we've occupied a predominant share of the market, over 50% market share for a length of time, and seen significant share creep over the last many years. In the last 5 years, you would have seen the research. Share has incremented from 60 to 70% of the market. Shares typically measured as a percentage of assets that you support. The largest mutual funds, 4 out of the top 5, 9 of the top 15 work with us. And we built a large countrywide technology and physical infrastructure. So we essentially look at ourselves as a technology-enabled, technology-powered company, which has created a platform and an infrastructure. And then we make services, and we provide these services to asset management companies, to investors and distributors. Over a period of time, the company has been institutionalized in terms of shareholding. So you've seen marquee shareholders, HDFC Group, which has been with the company now for the last 20 years. NSE, which came in sometime in 2013. Now, of course, they will be exiting, given a specific guidance, a specific regulatory guidance. But these two institutions, private equity investors, including Warburg Pincus, which has been our largest investor since 2018. And then significant investments in technology, large amount of linkages with all participants in the mutual fund ecosystem, and then building of adjunct businesses in the payment space, in the AIF and PMS space. We are, of course, also a licensed insurance repository and been doing this business since 2013, the market leaders. It's a small market now, relatively smaller market, but could be very exciting over the coming years. So that's really what the company has done over the last many years. We occupy the predominant position in the mutual fund registrar market, been market leaders, and have sustained that leadership for almost a decade and a half. That's really how the company has kind of emerged over the last 2.5 decades.
All right. What are the growth triggers for the company going forward? And, what would be the most important data or metric to track? And also, what you mentioned, could you do the same for perhaps PMS, if there are any new verticals that, you're perhaps looking at creating or operating in?
So when you look at the data, think of it this way, that our predominant revenue source has been a mutual fund business. So almost 87% of the company revenues come from mutual funds. You'd have seen the research, you've been reading the numbers, mutual fund assets, which is really the core metric on which mutual funds are measured, and so are we. Our revenues are dependent upon the assets on the AUMs. That number has consistently grown about 20% in the last 5 years. And if you read contemporary research, including the CRISIL study, it will tell you that that is what the expectation from the market is. So we're tied very closely to that market, and we expect that that will be the core driver for us for the times going forward. Like I said, we've been building emerging businesses in the areas of AIF and PMS, which are adjacent, adjunct to the mutual fund business. We use similar technology and similar know-how and intimacy to the market to build services on the platform. So that's one emerging business. We have a payments platform under the brand CAMS Pay, which was essentially doing the one-time mandate for SIPs at one time, but we've now diversified into servicing NBFCs too. And then we are a licensed insurance repository, the largest in the country. So mutual funds supported by these 3 businesses will be kind of guiding the future over the coming many years. Of course, you know that any specific forward-looking statements we're not allowed to make. So that's where I would leave it, that given the tailwinds in the industry, given the fact that mutual funds have been accepted as a very transparent, tax-efficient, low-cost, easy to participate in modes of engaging with the market, both for individuals and institutions. And as the penetration of that product grows across the country, which it has done in the last 6 to 7 years, we believe that trend has really brought us where we are. And we are looking for that trend to continue supporting us in the future.
Okay. Have the recent performance been impacted at all because of, perhaps less inflows in mutual funds, and in some cases, of course, redemption as well? And we are seeing a lot of redemption cases during the pandemic.
were really impactful, like they were for every industry in April and May. The industry had kind of peaked in terms of assets. Like, there are three major asset classes through which we measure overall asset performance. There is equity, there's debt, and liquid. Between Jan and Feb of this year, you can think that that kind of represented the peak of the business. Apart from March, April, and May, which were kind of trying months, we have seen that the mutual fund assets have kind of returned almost to original value, especially in the debt and liquid segments. In the equity segment, there is some catch-up to be done, about 5 to 7%. But a lot of that is explained by the fact that the markets haven't yet got back to the pre-COVID levels. And in this interim period, a lot of physical selling had been suspended because investors were not meeting their advisors in sit-down face-to-face meetings. Bank branches weren't that active. As that comes back, the expectation is that the market of all mutual funds, especially in terms of assets and asset accretion, should start going back to the pre-COVID levels. That is how the overall scenario looks right now.
Okay, let's talk then about the growth rate, the future growth rate. What do you think, or rather, how do you think revenues will grow from here? And on the margin profile, what's the trajectory one can expect? Can they continue to expand from here on out?
No, sure. So think of it this way, that in the past, CAMS and the MFRTA business, essentially this industry has developed and grown at almost similar rates as mutual fund AUMs. Think of it as a small handicap. So if mutual fund assets have grown, let's say 20%, the revenue growth in the past has been about 15-16%. CAGR, take last 5 years. So it grows with a small handicap to the overall mutual fund industry growth. And for the future, that could be a fair expectation. On the margin side, like you would have seen, we've kept our margins consistent in good years between 37, 38, 39% EBITDA. And then even in a bad year, we've very seldom fallen below 30%. So we're expecting that margins will continue being range bound, and in good years be in the high 30s, going up to 40. In the past, we've been focusing heavily on automation and making sure that our core processes are kind of de-risked from an execution and record-keeping perspective. They're as much untouched by hand. And we make sure that we've got enough ring fencing of our overall kind of data storage. That philosophy will continue in the future. And we will continue making sure that our core processes get as much automated and untouched by hand as possible, and that we continue to represent the gold standard in the marketplace on risk and cybersecurity standards. So that's a focus that will continue in the future. So from a margin perspective, that is what you would expect in the future. No, sure. So think of us as a 30-year-old company with the founder having been at the helm for the first about 10 years, and then institutional and private equity investors having come in the last about 20-odd years, starting the year 2000. So that's been the character of the company in terms of shareholding, and it is the aspiration of any company to ultimately kind of expose itself and engage with the public markets. So we're doing the same thing. We've had 2 rounds of private equity, one in 2007, and that investor made their exit later, and the latest one in 2018. So we've been with private markets for a length of time. And our aspiration, like any other company, was to engage with the public markets, which is what this step represents. In terms of specifics, the issue size is about 37% plus. So think of it as about 37.5%. About 1.8 crore plus shares being an offer. It's a completely secondary offer. There is no primary component to this. And essentially one large shareholder, which is the NSE Investments, NSE has been an investor in the company since 2013. There is now specific guidance that they should kind of wind down the shareholding. But that was not the primary cause how the IPO came about. The IPO came about, like I said, was through our aspiration of engaging with the public markets. This IPO, therefore, is a complete offer for sale, largely representing the NSE shareholding.
Okay, well, we wish you all the very best for the IPO. Anuj, thanks so much for joining us today on ET Now and just sort of introducing the company as well to our viewers. Well, we'll do one thing. We will take a very short break right here on the show. Don't go anywhere. Back, you're watching the newsroom on ET Now. Well, let's now look at some of the important news in our segment, Startup Central Fatafat.
MobiWik has appointed Chandan Joshi as co-founder and CEO of the payments business. Joshi was previously the Senior Vice President of Payments, and his promotion means MobiWik has given the co-founder title to someone outside the original founding team for the first time ever. Wondering why? His appointment means MobiWik is gearing up for the 2022 IPO campaign. European Court of Justice, the top judicial body of the European Union, has supported the bloc's net neutrality rules and given its approval to stop internet providers from charging customers for preferential access. This comes 4 years after EU's net neutrality regulations barred the practice of zero rating. After this order, zero rating is illegal in Europe. Funds are flowing in for cashback and coupon platform Cash Karo. It's raised $10 million in its Series B funding round, led by Korea Investment Partners and Kalari Capital. Ratan Tata had invested in Cash Karo earlier. It's the era of the gadgets, and soon you could get your orders delivered by a robot. That is if Snapdeal gets its way. The e-commerce marketplace and autonomous mobility startup Autonomy.io has successfully tested last-mile delivery using robots. Guess what? The robots can run along sidewalks and local streets and deliver orders.
Okay, well, meantime, IPL 13 is the big event we are watching out for, and we at ET Now have done our very own SWOT analysis, well, on the first two teams that are going to be facing each other off, CSK and Mumbai Indians. Take a look.
IPL 13 will be underway this weekend with heavyweights Chennai Super Kings and Mumbai Indians facing each other at Abu Dhabi. And building up to the IPL, we at ET Now will do our own SWOT analysis of every team in this mega extravaganza, this time in the United Arab Emirates. Fans will be waiting to see Chennai Super Kings this year, majorly because of the return of the former Indian skipper MS Dhoni on the field after a year. But Chennai's squad has been in the news after Chennai Super Kings top scorer Suresh Raina and Terminator Harbhajan Singh pulled out of the IPL's UAE chapter because of personal reasons. So here's an analysis of CSK's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. A team is only as good as its leader, and Chennai Super Kings is one of the legendary cricketing minds in the world, leading them. The team has won the championship thrice under MS Dhoni. Strong all-rounders have been the core of Chennai Super Kings team over the years. Dwayne Bravo, Ravindra Jadeja and Kedar Jadhav are all seasoned campaigners. The latest addition, British all-rounder Sam Curran, would also be bringing in left-arm medium and decent batting skills in the middle order. Whether it's the hot and humid pitches in Chepauk or the hot climate in the United Arab Emirates, spin will be the key for the Chennai Super Kings. With players like Imran Tahir, Ravindra Jadeja, Piyush Chawla, Mitchell Santner and Karan Sharma, and the brain of Dhoni, it will be enough to tie down any explosive batting unit. Chennai Super Kings has a lot of senior players and many of them are officially retired from international cricket. So this will be a big concern on the fitness aspect. They will have to survive the 53-day long high-pressure bumper ride. Chennai Super Kings senior players, including captain MS Dhoni, does not have enough match practice. The likely opening pair of Shane Watson and Ambati Rayudu have not played competitive cricket for a very long time. A strong opening in power play for Chennai Super Kings would be a must in Raina's absence at number 3. Despite being one of the most successful teams, Chennai Super Kings always has struggled with the top order not scoring big. Except for Shane Watson, big players at the top order have faced difficulties in building on a big innings. Suresh Raina's exit from the IPL may be a big worry, but it may be an opportunity too with MS Dhoni coming in at number 3. His record at number 3 position has 16 innings in one-day internationals, 993 runs at an average of 82.75, the highest among all the positions he's batted in the 50 overs format. Chennai Super Kings always fills the team with all-rounders, which gives them an option to continue attacking and scoring runs even if the top order fails. With Bravo, Kedar Jadhav and the latest addition Sam Curran, the lower middle order will be strong. Only Imran Tahir will be the one who will be a sitting duck with the bat. When seasoned campaigners like Faf du Plessis is not consistent in the top order, it is a major issue. Du Plessis was not very impactful in IPL 2019, finishing the season with 396 runs in 12 matches. If the same trend continues this year, then worries for the Chennai camp are sure to increase. CSK fans will be hoping that statistics and expectations will not stand a chance when Thala Dhoni leads the team on the ground. So will the Chennai Super Kings take their 4th IPL title this year? Well, that's a space we'll be watching. With Aditya Rao and Varun Warrior, Vikram Oza in Mumbai for ET Now.